Hi everyone, welcome to Techno Avengers. My name is Navdeep, and in this particular AWS lab we are going to launch our first EC2 instance. So you know EC2 is the Elastic Cloud Compute. It is kind of a virtual machines that are hosted on Amazon data centers. So let's get started. So when you go to this AWS console, on the very left hand side you could see the services tab, and under the services tab, under this compute section, you could see EC2. So you are redirected to this EC2 launch screen. So here you can also select the region in which you wanted to host your EC2 instance. So the recommendation is, if you are launching it for yourself, it should be nearest to your location, or if you're launching it for some customers, it should be nearest to your customer's location. So I have selected Asia Pacific Mumbai because I am in India and this is nearest to me. So let's start and launch this instance. On the very next page, the Amazon will provide you with the AMIs that are the predefined AMIs, like if you want to choose from the Linux operating system, the Ubuntu, Red Hat. So there are many distributions that you can choose from. You could see there are few of the AMIs that is eligible for the free tier, and there are few that are not eligible for free tier. So for our demonstration purpose, I am going to select this Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Also there is a AWS Marketplace. Here you could find another AMIs that are being sold by other users. So might be someone has created their specific image and they are selling it on Marketplace. So you could find it under AWS Marketplace if you are looking for something specific. But for my purpose, I am going to demonstrate with this one. So let me select it. So now comes the family type. So once you have selected the AMI that you wanted the Linux operating system, the second thing is what kind of machine you want. Like what are the CPU's requirement, what is the memory's requirement, and what are the input output requirement. Based on that, you could select from all these options. If I scroll down, there are tons of options that are available. So you have to choose according to your requirement. I am choosing here the general purpose T2 micro because it is a free tier eligible farm type. So it has the one CPU, virtual CPU, and 1 gigabit of memory. That is the very basic. So let me say next here. On this screen, you can define the number of instances that you want to launch. You could say I just want to launch one instance, or you can say I want to launch 5 instances. Any number of instances you can define here. Also, you can create an auto scaling group out of these instances. If you don't know about auto scaling group, it is just a kind of auto mechanism to scale up and scale down your instances. In that auto scaling group, you can define the minimum number of instances that should be running all the time, or you can also define the maximum number of instances that can run out of this configuration. If any chance your instance goes down because of any failure or any hardware issues or any other thing, the auto scaling group will make sure that the minimum number of instances is always running and then restart your instances automatically. So I am just going to say I just want to launch one number of instance. On the very next option, you can choose that you want a spot instance. So the spot instance, if you are aware, is a kind of bidding mechanism. You want the greatest discount, but your application is flexible enough to stop and start anytime, then spot instances are for you. So you can say, okay, I am okay with if my application is terminated midway, but I want the highest discounts. So you can say request spot instances, and you can like define a price on which you want the instances. Whenever that bidding price is met, your application will run. So for now, I just wanted the on-demand instances. I'm not checking this click box. The next very topics are the VPCs and subnets. So I'm not going to define anything about them, leave them as default. We will have a separate labs on VPCs and subnets. The next very option is the auto assign public IP. So the EC2 instance are provided with a public IP and a private IP. So the public IP is being chosen from the Amazon pool. Whenever you stop or start your instance again, your public IP will be lost. So if you want to have a persistent public IP associated with your instance, you could go for something called elastic IP. Let's leave this option as it is. I just want to say let's auto assign this public IP, and then we can define a IAM role here. So in the IAM lab, we created IAM role in which the EC2 instances can access the DynamoDB. I can assign that role here. So this is the role that I created in my last lab. So this is the EC2 DB role in which the EC2 instances can access the DynamoDB. So let's leave all other configuration as it is and say next. So here you can define the security group. Security group is a set of firewall rules that allows your traffic to your instance. So I can say I want to allow all the TCP traffic to my instance, and I can provide from where it can come, and I can say it can come from anywhere, or it can come from my IP only, or I can provide any custom IP blocks. So for now I am saying I just want to allow it from my IP. So you can add any number of rules here. So you can add any type of traffic and any number of rules. For now I have defined only the TCP and the SSH here. So I'll say review and launch. So this is the final review screen. It will have all the details about this instance, that it is saying the Amazon Linux machine, and the instance type is T2.micro, virtual CPUs are 1, memory is 1 gigabit. It is allowing SSH and all TCPs protocol to my instance, and the storage details and all other details. So I will say launch. So on this particular screen, you have to download a private key that will be provided to you, so that in future you can log into this particular machine, maybe using SSH or maybe some other mechanism. So I will say create a new key pair. Let me give this some name. I'll say sample private, any name you can give, and then you have to say download key pair. So remember, you have to keep this .pm file always with you, so that you can access this instance in future. So I'll say launch instance. So now it's saying your instance are now launching. So let's click on this one. So you could see my instance state is pending. So if you want to see other details, you can scroll up and you could see this is the instance ID. The state is now running. So you could see other information. These are the security groups. So this is the private DNS, private IP that will be can be used internally by the other resources in AWS. So this is the public DNS, public IP. So whenever I will stop this instance or maybe restart this instance, this public IP will get changed. So every time I restart or maybe stop this instance, the public IP associated with this instance will no longer be associated with that anymore. A new public IP will be given. So if I want to retain that IP, I don't want this IP to be changed every time, so I can assign an elastic IP with my instance. So I'm not going to demonstrate that for now. I will be demonstrating the elastic IPs when we will be doing the VPCs or subnet. But that is how you can assign the permanent IP to your instance that can be accessed publicly, but it will not change whether you start or stop an instance. So you could say the status check is initializing. It's not yet started because it's initializing, doing some status checks. Once the status check is done, your instance will be up and running. So now you can see it is 2x2 checks. So this instance is now up and running. Now let's see how we can access this instance. So if you are on a Windows machine, you might need a SSH tool called PuTTY. But if you are on a Mac machine, you can directly use your terminal to connect to this instance. So in this demonstration, I will show you how to use PuTTY. But if you want to see how you can connect using your terminal, you can click this connect button and it will tell you all the steps that are required via your Mac machine to connect to this particular instance. So let's see how we can use the PuTTY client. So for that, we have to download the PuTTY. So open a browser and type PuTTY here. Go to this www.putty.org. You can download PuTTY here. So click on this here link, and when scrolling down, you could see this putty.zip. If your machine is a 32-bit, then you can have to download this putty.zip. Mine is 64-bit, so I will download this putty.zip. So once you have downloaded the PuTTY, extract the PuTTY into some folder, and when you open that folder, you will see all these utilities. So you might recollect that when we were launching the instance, at the final step, we stored some .pm file into our system. That was the private key file. To access the instance through PuTTY, we cannot use the .pem file. For that, we need the .ppk file. and that can be converted using this puttygen utility. So open this puttygen utility and say load. And in the load you have to go to the location of the .pm file location. So this is my pm file, so I'll say open. It is saying successfully imported the foreign key, so say OK. And after that, when you have loaded the .pm file, you have to say save private key, and it is saying are you sure you want to save this key without a paraphrase, so you have to say yes. And then you can save this .ppk file anywhere in your computer. So I'm going to save this file on my desktop, give the same name as the .pem file. So this is my sample private .ppk file, and I will say yes, save. So close this puttygen. The next step that we have to do is open the putty utility, and then I have to provide the host name. So for the host name, open the EC2 console, and in the public DNS you have to copy this public DNS. So say copy to clipboard and come back to putty. And in the host name, copy paste this host name. Keep the port as 22, keep the connection as SSH, and then on the left hand side panel expand this SSH drop down, and from that select this auth, and then browse the ppk file that you have just generated. So this is my sample private.ppk, and then say open. So now you have to provide the username. So for the Linux operating system, the username by default is EC2-user. So you could see now I am connected to my EC2 instance. Here now I can do anything I want to do. I can install new packages, I can run websites, I can install databases, run databases, anything I want to do. This is a kind of machine on which I can install and run any application. So this was all about EC2. I hope you understood all the concept, how we can launch an EC2 instance, how we can access an EC2 instance. Thank you for joining in. Have a great day. Techno Avengers is always there to make technology simpler, so keep learning, stay tuned, and keep connected.